Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. So today what I wanted to do is a slightly different video, not looking at a particular product or anything like that, but I wanted to do a video where I spoke about the items that I use that if people ask me for a recommendation for some reason, these are the things that I would suggest. So what I've done is I've got 10 items here, well 11 actually, that I use all the time, that I love, if people are interested, this is what I suggest. I've separated them into a couple of categories. So like there are items that I could have had on this list, but that sort of category, if you will, is already covered by something else. So the first little category I'm going to look at is paper and notebooks and the associated sort of products that go along with that. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to do like an everyday carry one, and that has been this is the one where there's two items. So one is a sort of quite a luxury product in a lot of ways. It is the Galen Leather A5 zippered folio. Now this is a really great, beautifully made folio. It's not the sort of thing you can pad out with a bunch of gear because it does get tight very, very quickly. But like I have it here with the Rhodia spiral bound pad that I can tear the pages out of. I take rehearsal notes and then I file them separately. It's a great way to carry, a couple of pens, some business cards, a few things like that. It does come with a slot, a little thing that you can put in here that allows you to carry an extra 4 pens. But it's a really lovely product. It's beautifully made. It's got a great zip on it. And the leather, this is the Crazy Horse brown leather. I think it's absolutely stunning. So it's a great product. It's not overly cheap. There is a review on my channel. I'll link it below. But for this sort of carrying a notebook in a nice sort of leather cover, this is what I suggest. It fits nicely in your bag, all those sorts of things. Great for A5, fits a Leuchtturm or a Rhodia, things like that. As I said, I carry an A5 Rhodia spiral bound pad in there that I can tear the pages out of. It's an easy way to take notes on the run for work. The second product that falls into this category, that sort of everyday carry like folio, is the Lockbee Field Journal. Now this is a waxed canvas material. Once again, I've done a review of this, which I will link down below. This for me is just hands down everyday carry, almost perfection, and perfect for carrying your notebooks for everyday use. So in here I have one of the Lockbee Tolmore River notebooks, the dot grid one. I'll show this one in a little bit more detail close up, but it's the plain dot grid. And then I also carry in here the Elia Note, which is also a Tolmore River dot grid notepad. So they're both used for sort of different purposes. The Lockbee, being a nice slim journal, is great for like just everyday quick note taking, stuff like that. And the Elia Note I use for things like playing with art, with ink, for sort of more stuff that I'd like to sort of keep longer term. It's got 400 pages. It's a really great book. But I'll show you these in closer detail. Okay, so let's look at this Lockbee Field Journal. I know it's up nice and close here. I just wanted to show some details. You've got this great clip on it. And so this is A5 size. Lovely double stitching, and this nylon material is super strong. And this is the Tolmore River notebook that comes in the Lockbee Field Journals that you can buy from them. And you can see it's Tolmore River paper, so it's going to perform really, really well. It sort of picks up the sheen, as you can maybe see. I'm not sure how well it's going to pick up, but the sheen there on the azurite from Lime Crystal ink. And then if we look at the reverse side, like nothing comes through. It is just beautiful Tolmore River paper, and so a great sort of everyday carry notebook in that respect. And then if you get something like the Elia Note here, the same sort of thing goes. It's Tolmore River paper once again. So everything performs well. Sheen, shading, colours look great. A little bit more show through on this one. It's a slightly lighter paper. It's the 52 gram as opposed to the 68 that Lockbee uses. But this product is great. Like, it's got nice pockets, excellent sort of material, and as I said, like nice strong clips and handles and little pockets on the back, and it's just a beautifully well thought out product. Check out my review for more information about this, but it's just a really lovely product and super strong, rugged, protective of your stuff. like, nice little pen loop. Really, what more can you say? Great product. The next paper kind of product that I wanted to talk about is is a sort of a more archival quality notebook that I would keep for like long form journaling or that sort of thing. And for me, my pick for that is the Baron Fig notebooks. This is the Confidant in the, it's a larger size, I can't remember the exact name of it. And it is, I can't show you inside this because it is my personal journal, but I had this in the lined. It does come in dot and I think blank and yeah, the lined version. I find the paper quality in Baron Fig notebooks to be really great. It's not a paper that's going to show up sheen like Tullamore River does, but it does show the colours nicely and it writes nicely. It's got a nice tooth to it. In fact, I think I've done so here is the, I'll show this in closer detail as well, but I've done an ink test page, and you can see things just perform absolutely beautifully. Once again, an item I have reviewed, so you can check it out down below, but let's look at this in a little closer detail now as well. So here we have the Baron Fig notebooks, maybe these linen covers, nice quality paper. I'll just flip towards the back here so we can get a look at the writing sample. Once again, I've done a review of this, so check that out, but like, all these inks perform really nicely. They look really good. Yes, you don't get a whole lot of sheen off any of these inks, and something like Lamy Petrol will sheen on Tullamore River, but, you know, like, they all perform really nicely, and I think, you know, nothing comes through. It's high quality paper. I think you can really just, actually that's the Dockridge one, so that's my recent journal. I've used the lined for the other one, but they come in a nice range of, you know, materials and different rulings, and they're just really good quality paper. And for a product that is not, you know, super widely available, I think you can only buy them through Baron Fig at this point, or maybe a couple of other retailers. They are a beautiful quality notebook, and the sort of notebook that you're going to keep for years. And so if you write stuff that you need to be kept for years, these are the sort of books to use. The last paper product I wanted to talk about is not a notebook necessarily, or it's more a brand of paper, and that is Optiks. Now, Optiks come in a lot of different forms. They're taken on by a lot of different brands, but I have it in a very simple form here, which is the black and red notebook. This paper for me is some of the most fountain pen friendly. It shows up sheen and shading and the colors nicely. It performs really, really well, and it's super affordable. I think it's one of the most underrated papers across the board. Oxford use it, which is what this is in, and I think it's just a really high quality paper. So I've done, once again, I've shown these books in other reviews and paper videos in the past, so you can check one of those out. So the next products I want to talk about are ink. I've chosen two inks here. One is an everyday writing ink, and I think this is a great everyday writing ink because it's dark enough for professional use, yet it's got a little bit of personality, but it's also a really, really great performer, and that is Diamine Oxford Blue. Now I'm going to show both of these inks when I talk about the pens, because I've got them both in pens at the moment, so I thought that was a good chance to sort of show them both at the same time. Diamine Oxford Blue is a beautiful ink. It's widely available. It's super affordable. It comes in many formats: cartridges, the 30ml bottle, the 80ml bottle, which is what this is, which I'll show more detail in a minute. The reason I chose this, as I said, nice dark color, great for professional use, but just a little bit different, and I really, really like it. I'm a big fan of blue blacks, and while this isn't technically a blue black, I think it's dark enough that you get a sense of that same sort of breadth of color. The other ink is something with a little bit more personality. It's been a favorite of mine since the moment I tried it. It's from a brand that I love. It's a Robert Oster ink. Robert has been a big supporter of mine and the channel, but also is just an amazing ink producer. It comes up with incredible colors, and I think the color range that he does better than almost anyone is that green into blue. So he's got a range of colors that fall from greens, like the, you know, forest green is a great one, through to you know, sort of the more green and lime green and those sorts of colors, through to beautiful turquoises like Morning Mist or frankly blue, I think actually falls in that category, and things like fire and ice, and then into true blues like True Blue, School Blue, and Bondi Blue, and all those sorts of blues. But this is one of those ones that falls into that nice sort of aqua tealy sort of range in the middle there. And this is Tranquility. You can see through the bottle there a little bit to get a sense of the color. It's a beautiful ink. I've showed it in a pen. Just one of those inks that for me just screams personality, and from the moment I tried it, I loved it. So it's definitely an ink that I suggest to people. Okay, so the next product I want to talk about is a product that is a pen, but not necessarily a fountain pen. It's a hybrid pen. It's a hybrid dip pen and fountain pen, once again created by Robert Oster and James Finnis, and I've done a review of this as well. It is the Serendipity. So what this is an acrylic body with a nib, of like a plain fountain pen nib. Here I've got it with a broad Yovo nib and a regular fountain pen feed. So when you dip it, the feed saturates and you're able to write for like around a page. So I'm going to do a sample of this pen now, just to show you. But please check out the review. I go into quite a lot of detail. I think this is a product that almost every pen user, and particularly those who are into pens for ink, would really enjoy, because you don't always want to necessarily ink up a whole pen for it to use a particular ink. This gives you the opportunity to write up to about a page of writing on a dip, and then it's an easy clean. You take the nib and feed out, you wash them through, let them dry, and you can move on to the next ink. So if you're doing something like an ink a day or ink sampling and those sorts of things, this is a really great way of doing it. Or if you want to write a letter in a particular color, with a few dips of this pen, you're going to get a lot of writing. So I think it's a really great product. So here it is in just a little bit more detail now. Okay, now we land on Optik's paper. This is in an Oxford notebook. I'll just turn to a fresh page here. So these are available in multiple formats, multiple different sort of notebooks. A few brands use this paper. This is the Oxford brand one. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to use this as the writing sample page for the pens and pen products that I'm going to be showing off. So yes, Optik's paper, great quality paper, super affordable. Officeworks in Australia stock a book that contains Optik's paper. This particular book was bought from a W.H. Smith in the UK, but they are widely available. And if you search out Optik's paper, which I will put the title and the name of that in the description below, you'll see, if you can get your hands on it, you'll see exactly what I mean. But let's talk about this. This is the Serendipity, nice acrylic, as it says there on the side, James Finnis, Robert Oster. So yeah, it is just basically a fountain pen nib and feed in a pen holder. So you can remove that pen and, to clean it and all that sort of stuff. And then we put it back in. And as you're going to see now, I've got here one of those nice little dinky bottles of Hiroshizuku Kujaku ink. This is a 15ml bottle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip that pen into that ink. And then you can see when I write, we get the Robert Oster, James Finnis, Serendipity. Lovely pen. This is a broad Yovo nib. Great product, super handy. Okay, so now we get to the pens. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show these in much more detail on the other angle, because I think it's a better way of showing them. But I wanted to talk about why I chose each of these pens. So there are 4. And the first is an everyday carry pen. Now, I could have tossed up between a lot of different pens, a Lamy Safari, a Pilot Metropolitan, a range of pens in that range that would work quite well, or more robust things like the Karas Customs pens and things like that. What I've gone with is a pocket pen, and a pocket pen that is relatively new to me. It is the Sean Design Pocket 6. I've just done a review of this, so once again, I'll link that down below, but it is a very small pocket pen that when put together is a really lovely size, and it comes with a number 6 size nib. This is a Bock medium, and it's a great pocket pen. It's reliable, and we'll look at this in more detail in just a second. The next pen is a pen that when people ask me what pen I would suggest for a starter pen. Now there is, once again, Lamy Safari, TWSBI Eco, Pilot Metropolitan, a range of pens from Chinese brands that could easily fall into this category. But one that always has jumped out at me, and it's a little bit different. The design might not fit everyone, but in terms of writing experience and all of these sorts of things, what I've chosen is the Faber-Castell Loom. This is one of my absolute favorite pens. It's got one of the broadest, wettest medium nibs, but it comes from extra fine through to broad, and the extra fine is silky smooth. They all write relatively wet. This is a pen that if you hand this to a non-pen user, particularly in this finish as opposed to the metal finish, they're going to have a writing experience where they actually go, okay, I get it, on the page, this is why you use fountain pens, because this pen is just a joy to write with. Now, speaking of joys to write with, a pen you have to have in your collection is a pen you consider to be an everyday writer, a pen that you could write for hours with, that you write notes with, that you can sit at your office desk with, all of these sorts of things. And for me, there is no pen better for this purpose than the Lamy 2000. This pen, iconic, classic, well-known, gold nib, reasonably affordable depending on where you get it from. This pen is a no-brainer. If someone asks me for a pen in this price range, I have no other hesitation than to suggest the Lamy 2000. It's got a semi-hooded nib. It's a piston filler, so you get a decent ink capacity, better than a regular cartridge. It is just such a lovely pen and super reliable. And so at the moment I have this inked with Lamy Petrol, which is a lovely ink, but you will be able to see it writes nice and smooth and wet and all of that sort of stuff. So the Lamy 2000, absolute amazing everyday writer. Then the last pen I wanted to show is if someone's asking for a luxury pen. Now, the reason I chose this is not necessarily because it is the best writer. The new nibs on these pens are much more reliable. But the reason I chose this pen is because when you do get one that writes, it writes like a dream, and mine has always written like a dream, but it has incredible cool factor. So the pen is, of course, the Visconti Homo sapiens. This is the Bronze Age. It's made of a resin mix with volcanic lava from Mount Etna, and it is just incredible. I have it with I swapped the nib out, so I just got like a regular Visconti 18 karat palladium fine nib. I got it with a medium, it was just a little bit too broad for my everyday writing. And so I put a fine on there. It doesn't match the trim, but I don't care. It is just perfect in the hand, great weight, feels really cool, looks amazing, but from a nerdy point of view, oh my God, it's made of lava. So that is why this is not a cheap pen. This is quite an expensive pen, and I got this as a very special gift to myself for a project that I was involved in that was a big milestone in my singing career. So this is a pen that is not a pen for everyday, like for a beginner or anything like that. It's got an interesting filling system. It's expensive, but in terms of luxury, for me, this is where I'll go 100% because of the cool factor. So now let's look at those 4 pens. We'll see how they write. We'll see it on some paper. I'm going to use the Optik's paper for this writing sample as opposed to my normal Clairefontaine, just because I wanted to show you the Optik's paper in action. It's just beautiful paper, so why not? So let's check all that out. So the next product is both pen and ink, the ink being Diamine Oxford Blue. So, as I said, this comes in cartridges and the 30ml bottle and the 80ml bottle, which I have here. It's a lovely, rich, dark blue. One of my, I think, realistically, one of my top 3 absolute favorite inks across the board. Just really beautiful. And I have it in a pen, which is the everyday carry pen that I've been using. And it's in a cartridge in this pen, because this is the Shaw Design Pocket 6, which does have, is a converter, a cartridge only pen. So I have Diamine Oxford Blue in that cartridge. And, when it's closed, the pen is tiny. Like, it is tiny. But when you post the pen, you get something that is actually really handy size. As I said, it's got that number 6 nib on it. So really, it's actually like one of those perfect sort of little products. So here we have the Shaw Design. That's spelled differently, and I'll put a link below to the review and to their website. This is the Pocket 6. So look, automatically you can see it's a wet writer. It's, you know, it's a nice sort of medium. It's just a beautiful, beautiful little pen in the hand. And this ink is, as I said, Diamine. Oxford blue. Lovely, rich blue. You can see there's like, it's almost got a hint of like a blue-black undertone to it, which I quite like. But also, let's just quickly talk about this paper already. Now, I'm not sure how much of that you'll be able to see, but there's already sheen coming up on that Oxford blue ink. So like this paper is just performing really well. In a moment, we'll be able to see the reverse of the page as well, so you can just see how that works. But this is the Sean Design Pocket 6. So if you're after a small pen, something to carry in your pocket, rugged, reliable, for me, this is a great, great option. And that ink for everyday writing, I don't think there's anything sort of more ideal. And for me, that is absolutely perfect. The next pen was the Faber-Castell Loom. This is, you know, it's been on my top 5 lists in the past. Affordable, not the cheapest, beginner or entry-level fountain pen around, but super reliable. It is a cartridge converter. I'm almost out of ink. I have this inked with Diamine Terracotta, which is another one of my absolute favorite inks. It's a lovely pen to write with posted. It's got some little ridges there on the section to sort of take away some of the slickness. I find it to be a well-balanced pen, and this nib just writes absolutely, absolutely beautifully. So we have here the Faber-Castell Loom, and this is a medium nib. The nibs are made, I think, by Yovo, but to a specific proprietary size for Faber-Castell. The ink is Diamine Terracotta. As you can see, the pen does write quite wet, very smooth, very, very smooth. And it shows off the nice sort of shading qualities of that ink as well, as does this paper. It's not the super, ink will shade on this paper, but it tends to sort of just look a lovely uniform color. And this is an ink for that. It's quite a matte ink, but you do get some lovely hits of the shading as well. So the Faber-Castell Loom, a decent sort of entry-level pen, or a slightly next stage pen. The design won't be for everyone, but for me, this is what I suggest, just for that pure, beautiful writing experience that the pen can provide. Okay, let's now move to the everyday writer pen, the pen that you can rely on, that you can have with you everywhere you go, the Lamy 2000. Classic, classic pen. Done a bunch of videos on this pen. I'll link one particular one down below. Just stunning. Brushed metal clip, this macrolon material, like German engineering, precision, just absolutely beautiful. A lovely 14 karat gold semi-hooded nib, brushed metal section. It's a piston filler. It doesn't have the biggest ink capacity, but, you know, more than a converter. And it's just a lovely pen in the hand. Posts really nicely, beautifully balanced. Classic design, been around for decades and more than 50 years, in fact. And so this is the Lamy 2000. And this is a medium, and the ink in this is Lamy Petrol, which is a beautiful ink. It was a special edition ink a couple of years ago. Lovely dark teal color, but this pen is beautiful and smooth, and lays down a nice wet line. The medium is on the broader side of medium. It is wider than a standard like Lamy Safari or All-Star medium nib, but is just a beautiful writer, smooth, and from the fine that I've used in this pen is beautiful, the broad, but they also do some like double broads and oblique broads and things like that, which are just beautiful writers. So if you're looking for a pen in a slightly higher price range that is going to last you forever, that you are going to want to use forever, that isn't going to stand out, isn't going to be like flashy or anything like that, but it's just going to be a great, great writer, check out the Lamy 2000. Now, the very last pen and the last item we're looking at today, the Visconti Homo Sapiens. Now, this is just a straight up cool pen. Visconti is a luxury Italian brand and they have had some nib issues in the past, particularly with these palladium nibs. Now, mine writes exceptionally well. The medium I had wrote exceptionally well, as you can see from my review, which I will link down below. But I just wanted a slightly finer nib, and so I was able to get one of the plain chrome colored fine nibs for it. It's a what do they call it? Power filler is what, basically a vacuumatic filler. But there's no ink window, so you never really know how much ink you have. It's one of the only problems with this pen. It is an expensive pen, but it is made of lava. So there are certain things you've got to be careful about, like not getting ink on the section when you're filling it, all those sorts of things. But just in terms of the bronze trim and the lava resin material, it's just a damn cool pen, and I think it's amazing. So we have the Visconti Homo Sapiens Bronze Age. Now this pen, as I said, is not a cheap pen. The price will depend on where you get it from, as with all of these pens, which is why I haven't named price, because something like the Lamy 2000 in Australia will retail for $370, whereas you can get it for well under $200 in America. Like the same with the Visconti Homo Sapiens, you can get them for anywhere from like 600 American through to close to 1,000 Australian. So check out your local retailers where you like to get pens from. This is a fine nib, as I said. Just really a lovely, lovely pen. Really unique design, unique material, but not a cheap pen. So as I said, in this pen, the ink is Robert Oster Tranquility. Now you can see there's a lovely sort of aqua tealy sort of color. Robert Oster Tranquility. So for me, this ink is my personality ink. I think it's got a great sort of color range to it. The shading is beautiful. The sheen, which is that sort of what I call that halo sheen, where you get a bit of like red just around the edge of the writing, not that sort of blanket sheen that you'll get from, say, some like Organic Studios ink or Colorverse and things like that. This is just a lovely, nicely saturated, everyday writing ink that just has a lot of personality. So you can see this pen is smooth and wet, and an ink like Tranquility works really well in it because you get that lovely sort of color range that sort of comes out from the ink. And you can see, I don't know if you can see, there's a couple of little hints of that halo sheen, which is really nice. So in terms of a partnership, this ink and this pen actually work really well together. I'm really impressed. I always have been. Any ink I put in this pen does go quite well, and almost any pen I put this ink in works well. So it's a really lovely partnership. But for a luxury pen, the Visconti Homo Sapiens, and for the ink with a little bit of personality, it's a little bit of life to it, Robert Oster Tranquility. So this paper, as you can see, we've tried 5 inks and 5 sort of variations on pens in it, from broad nibs through to fine nibs, and with a couple of sort of sheening inks and things like that. And if we look up nice and close, you'll see there's hits of sheen on the Oxford Blue there and the Lamy Petrol, and little hints of it in the Tranquility as well, and even on the Kujaku there. So nice, we get some nice shading, we get some nice sheen, no feathering, nothing like that. And if we look at the reverse side, nothing comes through. You can barely, even the ghosting is very, very low, but there's no bleeding, there's no sort of real great show through or anything like that. Yet these inks are just performing beautifully on the other side. So Optik's paper here in an Oxford black and red, very simple, plastic cover, elastic band, comb binding notebook, great paper, fountain pen friendly, and yeah, super affordable. So thank you all for watching. I know that was a slightly long video, but I wanted to cover quite a lot of material and quite a lot of products, because these are things that I use all the time, and that if people ask me for things within these categories, this is what I'm going to suggest. Right now in May 2020, middle of the COVID-19 epidemic, this is what I would suggest if people ask me for everyday carry notebook items, good quality, affordable paper, excellent sort of archival quality journal writing paper, or an interesting fun toy, or great pens or ink. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up, like and subscribe, all of that sort of stuff. Contact me in any of my videos here or drop me an email. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if you've got suggestions for any of these sorts of categories, put them in the comments below, because it's always great to hear what you guys think. Or if you'd like to support the channel, drop me a message. Let's see what we can do. Like if you wanted to provide items for a review or sponsor a review or anything like that, get in touch and let's see what we can do, because I make no money from this. So everything that I show in these videos is either purchased or provided by me, or provided for review by very generous supporters of this channel. So thank you all. Stay home, stay safe, enjoy your writing, and I'll talk to you soon.